Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Hi all, this is Dr. V. Subapriya, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology. Our topic for today is Simplification of Context-Free Grammar. Let's see what is context-free grammar. Context-free grammar is a set of recursive rewriting rule that is used to generate a pattern of strings. It is also used to represent many programming languages. In general, context-free grammar is defined as a set of quadruples which is denoted as CFG is equal to V, T, P and S, where V is nothing but a finite set of variables or non-terminals usually represented in uppercase, and T is nothing but a finite set of variables or terminals which is represented in lowercase, and then P is nothing but a production rule or a substitution rule, and S is nothing but a start symbol. Initially, a start symbol is nothing but the first production's left hand side a non-terminal, we call it as a start symbol. Why simplification of CFG is important, right? It reduces the complexity and it is used to generate a simpler parse tree and also reduce the complexity in the production rule, and also it helps us in normalization of a production rule by Chomsky normal form and Greibach normal form, and also it prepares an efficient parsing algorithm. These are the steps in CFG simplification. There are three different ways or three different simplification steps which has to be followed in general to simplify a CFG. Number one, removal of useless symbols or productions, and number two, elimination of epsilon production or null production and removal of unit production. Let's see how to remove the useless symbols or productions. The first step is removing the useless symbols. There are two different useless symbols available, which we call it as either a non-generating symbol or unreachable symbol. The non-generating symbol is nothing but any symbol which does not produce a terminals as a string. Okay, and unreachable symbol is nothing but the symbols that cannot be reached from the starting production or start symbol. For an example, for non-generating symbols, there is a production like S tends to A or BC, and A tends to B or small b capital B, B tends to A capital B or epsilon, and C tends to AC or D, and D tends to BD. Here in the set of productions, we call D as a useless symbol because D is not reachable from the start symbol. Can you please see here where S tends to A is reachable, or BC where B is also reachable. There is no D in the start production where D could not be reachable. So the D productions has to be eliminated. After elimination of D productions, where we have D tends to BD is eliminated and C tends to D is eliminated. Later we get the productions after eliminating the non-generating production. Now removing the useless symbol, we are going to see what are the unreachable productions. Here C is unreachable. Why I am saying C is unreachable? Because C does not produce any terminals at all. C tends to AC is there. In turn, if you substitute any productions for the C, again it will be like C tends to AC. C is not producing any terminals. So C is an unreachable productions from the start symbol. So we are eliminating C here. When you eliminate C, C tends to AC production will be eliminated, and also we have S tends to BC here, where in turn it contains a C here. So this also will be eliminated. Next step is eliminating epsilon productions or nullable productions. When we call a production is nullable, when a non-terminal directly tends to epsilon. See, for an example, S tends to AB or A, and A tends to epsilon. Here A directly tends to epsilon, so this epsilon production is eliminated by substituting epsilon in terms of A here. When you substitute epsilon in place of A here, S tends to AB will replace as such, remain as such, and A will be represented or substituted by epsilon. In turn, you will get a B, and this A, as usual, you will get. This is nothing but what, eliminating an epsilon production. The step 3 is removing unit productions. What we call it as an unit production is any non-terminal directly tends to a non-terminal. Here, for example, Z tends to M is a unit production, as well M tends to N is an unit production. Here, our Y tends to Z is also unit productions. So, in turn, we can replace this as Y tends to Z, Z tends to M tends to N, whereas N tends to a terminal A. So, this could be replaced as S tends to XY, X tends to A, Y tends to A or B. Why I am saying Y tends to A or B? Because Y tends to Z initially, Z tends to M tends to N, and in turn N tends to A. So, instead of writing so many productions in between, we can directly write as Y tends to A or B. That's what happening here. Why we are doing all these 3 steps? In order to reduce the complexity in your CFG. Thank you.